everyday life somehow manages to be tough and boring at the same time. With prices constantly rising, economy failing, and the apocalyptic thought of a possible World War III, what better time to enjoy some isekai? Hello, fellow otaku enjoyers, I'm Amina, and if you haven't guessed by the title already, today we'll be talking about a sensational anime from over 10 years ago, which to this day comfortably stays at the 17th place of all the most popular animes on Mall. The absence of a second season sure is sad and a little unexplainable, but let's work with what we already have. If you're new to this channel, which considering the size of it you probably are, be aware that here we do not tolerate uncultured otakus coming for an analysis and complaining about spoilers, so proceed at your own risk. For convenience, I'll divide the analysis in 3 parts: No Game No Life, the good, the bad, and the ecchi. For those who need their memory refreshed, No Game No Life revolves around the 2 siblings, Shiro, the super intelligent lowly, and Sora, the all-knowing degenerate teen boy. The 2 of them stay at home playing video games as a team with the mysterious name of blank. How edgy of them! Eventually, they get challenged by the god of game from another world, and as we know, blank never loses, so the god, as the sore loser he is, isekais them to this world he created where everything is decided by a game. In that world, the rules state that killing someone is impossible, and if you're caught cheating while playing a game, you lose. So basically that's it. So let's start with our first point. No Game No Life, the ecchi. Despite the common opinion being that this anime is just another way of sexualizing 11 years old in Japanese manga and has nothing special to offer, I beg to differ. Sure, the fan service goes way too hard on this one, but the anime in itself is supposed to be that way. It's labeled and advertised as an ecchi one. There definitely is a target audience that watches porn for the plot, but when the plot is too good, the hentai part becomes unnecessary because the viewer is already focused on the story. The compatibility of philosophy and some random stuff scenes is questionable. It just dilutes the whole point, makes it less significant and way less serious. The whole story and the anime in itself start to appear cheap, and if you wanted to make another Ero manga sensei, you didn't really need to bring the whole isekai cool game theme. Also, the age of the siblings, it doesn't really make sense. It's not about me defending lowlies as 2D characters, not real kids, from the very people that they were created for in the first place. It's just that the inconsistencies bother me. It is impossible for Shiro to be that degenerate at only 11, and Sora being all-knowing and 18? That's not how it works. I don't really care about how characters different ages are portrayed in anime because it never really makes sense. But in that case, Shiro being 15 or 16 and Sora being around 25 would make a lot more sense personality-wise. So to summarize all that, I do think that there is a spot for ecchi anime. It just seems that No Game No Life kinda went overboard with it, to the point where it's just annoying and spoils the whole story that the anime actually has. To put it that way, No Game No Life is way too good to be thrown on the just another ecchi pile. No Game No Life, the bad. Well, to be honest, it kinda overlaps with the previous one. I have just one word for it: Steph. She's just the fan servicey, idiot-like comedic relief that the show thinks it needs. She contributes 0 to the plot, and even though she technically won the game against the Eastern Federation by shooting Izuna, I don't think that's enough to justify all the screen time she gets. Also, the fact that the siblings bully her so much somehow makes them way less likable, at least for me. They consider themselves to be superior to her, despite the fact that she actually is one of the smartest of the humanity race.
In fact, I graduated top of my class at the most prestigious academy in the country, and I have connections with every major family through my former classmates.
All the humiliation is way too much. When I saw Steph's character for the first time, it reminded me a lot of Darkness from Konosuba, whom, to be honest, I found rather funny. But the extent of the humiliation combined with the fact that Steph actually did not enjoy any of it just made it unbearable. And even letting the 2D pixel girl's feelings aside, the whole point Sora made when competing against Jabril was that she was way too self-absorbed, looked down upon humans, underestimated her opponent, and that's why she lost. Well, his actions towards Steph...
But that can't be right. You are a Steph, aren't you?
Is it my imagination, or did you just use my name as a derogatory term?
Shut up, Steph. You're just a Steph.
Well, he does that way more, and overall he's just way worse. Anime is famous for using certain tropes. That sometimes makes it funny. Again, Konosuba comes in mind. But generally, people get tired of them pretty soon. A good example is the protagonist that never loses, because of the power of friendship. Yeah, Blank never loses, but that becomes tiring and dumb very quickly. Shiro and Sora are literally in another world. It's only natural for them to be better in one thing and worse in another compared to the super powerful opponents they appear to be facing. Them being that confident and always winning becomes repetitive. I get why it could be comforting to watch the protagonist plan and win always, and you just follow the heroic journey. It's nice to see the otaku protagonists with whom the viewer is supposed to identify with win. But still, as the siblings formed a team with Steph and Jabril, it would be nice if the two girls actually led to a victory in a situation where Shiro and Sora did not know what to do. But maybe 12 episodes is too short for all that character development I want so desperately. No Game No Life, the good! Apart from the unique art style and really cool animation, No Game No Life definitely brings some interesting points to discuss. In the times that we live in, with corrupt politicians, wars, and overall quite an unsure and dark future humanity might be faced with, the thought of solving everything by simply playing a game brings back childhood memories of when many things were decided by rock, paper, scissors battle or some funny way of counting the players while singing. The idea that you can challenge anyone gives a sense of power. You are no longer a meaningless clog in a machine. You have the power to be whatever you want to be, as long as you're smart enough to win the game. But there always will be cheaters. And here comes the realization that their world is similar but very different from ours. In the majority of the developed world on Earth, you technically do have the right to do whatever you want and be whoever you want to be. But having the right is very different from having the opportunity to do so. You will need money, education, power, and a bunch of important people supporting you. And that is only if you are lucky enough to be born in a country where such rights exist in the first place. As for the world in No Game No Life, you just have to be smart and win. Many people seem to misunderstand the conversation between Sora and Izuna when she lost the game.
Be taken over, and so many people will. And it's all my fault for having too much fun and not winning.
It'll be okay.
He's not trying to say that it's okay to gamble the lives of a whole nation just to have fun in a game. He just understands the way that the isekai world functions. No one can die, so all people can just challenge one another to prove their intelligence, but the consequences of losing a war are almost non-existent compared to the real human world. So a greater emphasis can be placed on having fun and trying to prove yourself. Jabril says that in their world, games are equal to war. That is an interesting thought, because even though wars are forbidden, and those creatures only partially resemble humans, the appeal of the war is always there. It's almost as if humans, in their essence, crave war, as if they aspire their own destruction in the name of proving to be superior. That is indeed what happened with the gods in the history of No Game No Life's world. But now, with the god of games being in power, all has changed. All living creatures still can compete, but the stakes can't be raised that high. So it's not war anymore, it's now just a game. So that's why the 10th rule applies.
Number 10, let's all have fun and play together.
Huh?
Because in the end of the day, the winner and the loser will still be okay and can even become friends while playing. That, unfortunately, is something quite impossible for humans outside of isekai anime. Speaking of that, do you remember Kurami? Yes, the girl from the chess game. Sora and her did go from rivals and generals of fighting armies to friends, right? And here again, I think that the chess game episodes are quite misunderstood by some fans. The chess game illustrates somehow the wars in the human world. As each piece is a different soldier who has his own will, family, and friends, it becomes way more difficult to control them. They didn't move like chess pieces, and they did not obey by any classic moves of the secular game because it was not chess that Sora and Kurami were playing. It was the closest representation of a real war, and Sora and Kurami got to participate in one without having to suffer the consequences of it. Kurami was using magic to be in a dictator-like position. She ruled with fear and brainwashing. I'm not saying that Sora was any better. In fact, his way was pure manipulation. He was trying to appear democratic, but he made many false promises in order to gain the piece's trust. Sora managed to start a revolution on Kurami's side. And as he said, people only fight for what they believe in. He probably was trying to be heroic, but in reality, the chess pieces believed whatever he wanted them to believe. They did have some free will, but they were not completely free. Sounds familiar? And let's not forget that Sora first started by lying and manipulating the queen, the most powerful of all pieces, in hopes that the others would listen to her. War is a place when the young kill one another without knowing or hating each other, because of the decision of old people who know and hate each other without killing each other. And that quote from the Second World War fits perfectly the chess game from NoGameNoLife. Sora's speech about humanity being weak but still persisting precisely because of being weak and having to rely on their brain to survive is quite inspirational. In his eyes, even winning like a coward is still winning. At the same time, as the siblings say that humans are physically weak yet amazingly smart and strategic, they bully Steph and show their despise towards the human race. That contradiction is something so human. There is something else I thought of while seeing this anime. The people in the isekai world were not actually 100% free. They did in fact obey to the rules of their god. They had no choice. These rules are what kept the world safe. But what about humans in the real world, where everything is way more complicated? There are tons of religions, beliefs, and rules to be followed. And if we were to imitate this anime's world in our own, it would be near impossible. Whether God exists or not, humans are free to do whatever they want. There are technically no rules impossible to break. So that should mean that the humans in the real world are free and happy, right? And now my question to you. Would you like to be isekai?